Hello and welcome to One Chord a Week. Today's chord is along with the major chord that we saw just a few episodes ago. Here's a link in case you missed it. The basis for pretty much all tonal music. So yes, it's important. Let's begin. It goes without saying that the minor chord is a must-know chord, as it is prevalent in pretty much all styles of music around the world. As a tonal center, you'll see it often in heavy metal, in rock music, in pop, of course in classical music, in soundtrack music. You'll see it in electronic, EDM, dance music, pretty much everywhere you look, you'll find that the minor chord is there. So before we begin, let's look at the formula, how it's built, and then we'll listen to its sound. And as always, I will show you where and how to play it and what scales you can use with it. The minor chord is a basic triad in construction, so triad means it has 3 notes. And these notes are, of course, the basis for pretty much all variations of the minor chord. Some of them we looked at already, like the minor 7th chord, and some we will expand on in later episodes. Okay, but the idea here is that we have a root, as always, in C, and then we have a minor 3rd, which is E flat, and this is the sound, of course, that we'll investigate further later. And then we have a perfect 5th. The perfect 5th, if you remember, is 7 frets up from the root or 2 whole steps from the minor 3rd. Either way you look at it, you end up on a G. Okay, so we have the root in C, the minor 3rd in E flat, and then we have the perfect 5th in G. So C, E flat, G. This is the formula for the minor chord. And there it is, the quintessential minor sound, sadder, darker, moodier than major, it's often described as. But at the same time, don't forget that it's still a tonic function chord, so it doesn't require resolution, and it can be, and it should be sometimes, the center of your chord progression. So the sound of the minor chord comes, of course, from the minor 3rd, which in this case is E flat against the C. So we have the root C and the minor 3rd E flat. This is the sound of minor. But then we add a G, and the G is a very round sounding interval, very stable. In case you missed it, there's a link to the power chords, which are just root and 5th, and you see how stable it is. So you put it together with this tension, and the 5th kind of brings it back together and forms like a whole chord, basically. It's very self-contained thanks to the G there. And this is basically the sound of the minor chord. It's a very strong sound, very easy to identify, so you can get away with pretty much any inversion. But as we did with the major chord, we're going to look at the effect of inverting the chord and the triad to the sound. So a minor triad in root position has, of course, the minor 3rd as the first interval, and then a major 3rd from the minor 3rd to the 5th. So it's a minor 3rd from C to E flat, and the major 3rd from E flat to G. And this is basically the minor sound that we're all used to. Now, if I go up to the next inversion, then I would have E flat, then G, and then C. So the sum of the notes still gives me C minor. This is still C minor. It's not any kind of E flat chord, it's a C minor chord, but in first inversion. And now, because of the inversion, you'll notice how we have E flat to G, which is a major triad, and then we have a perfect 4th between G and C. So technically speaking, there is no direct minor 3rd. There is, of course, a minor 3rd if we consider this C here to this E flat, but really it's kind of a major 6th backwards, right? So to our ear, this sounds a lot more major than this. Of course, the sum of it is still minor, and if you use it in a song, it's still going to function as a minor chord, but it is a very interesting effect of mastering triads of the minor and major chords. You can really mess up the balance of the tonal qualities of it, okay? So this is the first inversion, and to me it sounds more major than the root position. Still minor, of course, but a bit more major. And then I can move on to the second inversion, which will be G, C, and E flat. And in this case, I would have this sound. I have from G to C, which is a perfect fourth, very open sound, and then I have my minor third. Now there's no major third interval here. Of course, again, there is one between this E flat and this G, but again, it's kind of backwards. And so this sounds maybe even more minor than the root position, because there's no sound of a major third here, at least not a direct one. Okay, so this is all very subtle, of course, but it becomes extremely important when you're composing music or when you're just writing for any instrument that plays chords. So I suggest you do explore the inversions of major and minor triads. In case you missed the major chord video, here's a link, because I kind of go in depth with it for the major triad. Then you can compare it to the minor triad inversions, and between both things you should get a clearer idea of it. All right, so this is it for the sound of minor. I'm going to show you now how to play it in 3 different positions on the neck. And let's look at 3 different ways to play it on the neck. Now this chord you should learn it in like 30-40 different ways, all right, or more, but these 3 will get you started. And the first one is one that is not very common, but I really enjoy it, and it goes like this. Is 3 on the 5th, which is my root C. Then I go to the E flat note, which is the 1st fret on the 4th string. Then I go to my 5th, G, open string, on the 3rd string, and then 1 again on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Make sure you don't play the 1st string. We don't want that. Okay, now this position here may look a bit strange, but it can be moved. So if I replay this again on the higher octave, I would have 15, 13, 12, 13. And this is a movable shape of the minor chord. Okay, so it's a beautiful sounding minor chord, and it sounds a bit different than the usual ones, which I will show you right now. The next position is one that we all know, I think, but if you're new to this, you have to know this. It's the little bar chord on the 3rd fret. So we have the root on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, then we go to 5th fret for the G and the C again. And then on the 4th fret of the 2nd string, we have our minor third, E flat. As always, you can add the 3rd fret on the 1st string. Just put a little bar on the 1st finger, and there you go. You have to know this chord, of course. And now this position can also be played on the 6th string, and usually I will give you something more complicated, but if you're watching this video, maybe you do need to master just a few positions of minor. And so I'm going to give you this position. Okay, again, there's a big bar here on the 8th fret, which is on the 6th string, and then the top 3 strings. So you're better off just pressing down on all of them. And then we have the 3rd and 4th finger playing the 10th fret on this 5th and 4th string. Okay, so we have 8, 10, 10, and then 8, 8, 8. Now, one thing to be mindful of, especially for beginners, it's really hard in the beginning to get this string here, the 3rd, to sound properly. Many beginners will do this. Now, if you don't produce a sound on this 3rd string, you're not playing minor, because that's the only instance of the minor third. It's the only E flat in this shape. So don't fall into the trap of going, it sounds kind of like a minor chord. No, it doesn't. You need this note. Okay, so make sure you always play slowly, and make sure you're actually producing an E flat. Otherwise, you're playing a different chord. You're playing a C5, a power chord, which is great, but it's certainly not minor. When it comes to scales, the minor chord is a great chord to play on, because with just a root, minor third, and 5th, it can accommodate so many different scales, from very normal and diatonic to very exotic ones. Also, it's less susceptible to me than the major chord to tension, so it can accommodate more strange sounds on top of it. Okay, but we'll keep it simple today, and the first scale, of course, that has to be associated with minor chord is the minor scale, or the Aeolian scale. And so over a minor chord, you would play C minor. Has some beautiful intervals, such as the minor sixth. The second sounds great over a chord, right? All of them. The fourth sounds consonant, it doesn't sound ugly, like in major. So you can have pretty much all the notes sound beautiful. So this will be my first choice, not maybe to play, but certainly to teach somebody. You do need the minor scale. And the second one to me would be maybe the melodic minor. It's a very interesting sounding scale, and it kind of bridges the gap a little bit between major and minor. So we would have the first half is a minor scale, C, D, E flat, and then from here on it's the same as a major scale, G, F, G, A, B, C, and it sounds very interesting. Or something like that, right? So maybe start with these two, minor and melodic minor, and both of them have plenty of minor modes you can then apply to this chord. And so this should get you started. And there you have it, the minor chord. Thank you very much for all your comments and support of this series. I'm very happy to see that you find these videos useful and interesting, and that you are learning new things, because it's so important to use this platform of YouTube to provide valuable information. And so I'm happy to see that you're making the most out of them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. If you haven't hit the bell, you might want to, because I'm posting all these videos quite regularly, and also every Saturday we do the live streams. And if you could maybe share with your friends or other guitar players, it would be very much appreciated. I will see you very soon with a new video, and I will think of something really cool for next week. All right, see you very soon. Bye-bye.